And before we start, I just want to offer you something that one of my first bodywork teachers offered to me. And he said, you should be able to meditate in a disco. Mm-hmm. So if there's outside noise, if the business that I share the space with has to interact with its customers, just consider that to be part of what we're receiving today and what we're working with. Or if bells go off, that's part of it. Okay, so get comfortable. You should be upright in a way that's just good enough. Does everybody have their mute on who needs to have their mute on? Okay. All right. So we're going to start with breathing. Let's just take 2 or 3 natural length breaths in as relaxed a fashion as you can. Breathing in. Say inhale. Breathing out. Say to yourself exhale. So you're becoming aware of the breath. See if you can start making your exhale a little bit longer than your inhale. You can count inhale 1, 2, 3. You can count your exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whatever numbers make sense to you. Exhale longer than the inhale. And if you want to, you can start working with the body. So I invite you to raise your shoulders up around your ears as you take a deep breath in. Exhale and let your shoulders drop. Let's do that twice more. So inhale, raise your shoulders. Exhale and drop the shoulders. One more time, raise the shoulders as you inhale.
Are you in general Saturday?
Drop the shoulders as you exhale.
So the next one would fall late August, beginning of September.
And then on the next in breath, tighten the belly. You can place your hand on your abdomen if you want to. Breathing in, hold the breath. Feel the belly getting very tight. And as you exhale, let the belly go, let it relax.
Extra slow.
Take one more inhale and hold it. Squeezing, contracting the abdomen. Exhale and let the belly go. Now, practice relaxing the belly as you breathe in. Let the belly be soft. Flying. Feel it opening and expanding as you breathe in. Gently contracting as you breathe out. Breathe in. 1, 2. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last, as you take an inhale, I'd like you to scrunch up your face. And exhale, release the face. And return to relaxing the shoulders and relaxing the belly.
It's okay.
So now we're going to breathe a little bit, work with the breath.
You have a great summer.
Quietly
Joanne, I hope your invention goes well.
Concentrate on keeping the shoulders and the face relaxed. Letting the belly expand as you breathe in. Slowly exhaling longer than the inhale. Let's do that for 5 more breaths. That's good. I don't know if you can feel, but I can feel the energy in the room starting to settle. Now that we're starting to land with each other and starting to calm down, let's bring our attention back to the room. I'd like you to try to feel the floor under your feet. Continue to make the exhale longer than the inhale. Feel the weight of your sit bones in the chair, the weight of the bottom of the chair. Feel your belly soft and supple, moving as you inhale and exhale. See if you can enjoy the feeling of your body moving as you breathe. Shoulders relax, sliding down. Face relaxing. Sense of ease. We're going to take 30 to 60 seconds to come back now. So gently wiggle your fingers and your toes. You can alternately squeeze and relax the eyelids. I'm aware of the sounds in the room, birds outside, air conditioner in the corner, sounds from the street. When you're ready, you can rejoin the room, gently opening your eyes, bringing yourself back. And take 30 seconds and look around the room, remembering your impression of what things looked like when you came in, and see if things look any different. Maybe it feels like your eyes are taking in more light, or like you can see more. Maybe you feel a difference in your hearing. Maybe you feel like you can actually receive more sound. And those are all a result of your nervous system shifting into a listening ready, friendly state. So I thought it would help if we all said hello to each other before we started the discussion. Does that sound okay? All right, so Bryn and I will go first. Bryn, why don't you introduce yourself and maybe tell us what brought you to the discussion today?
Sure. So hi, my name is Bryn Wallace, as Steve mentioned. Thank you for that lovely meditation. Can you guys hear me okay? Ish? Okay. So I am a therapist specializing in trauma, body-based trauma work. I'm a somatic experiencing practitioner, as well as an EMDR practitioner, and also integrating this polyvagal theory that we'll talk about today. And Steve invited me in to talk about listening and the nervous system. And I have a young baby at home, and I'm like, I'm overwhelmed. I can't take anything on. And he was like, I'm going to take the lead, but just invited me to join and pipe in as I can. So I'm actually maybe TMI, but pumping breast milk right now, which I'll talk about how that is a marker of how relaxed or stressed you are, of how, whether you get any output. So I have a biometric machine plugged into me right now. We'll see how it goes. So great to be here. Thank you for having me, and excited for the conversation.
Just my opinion, not TMI. Culture needs to be.
Yeah, it's normal. It's okay. It's good. So I won't make you see it, but it's happening. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm Steve, and I started a listening and communication series out of some experiences that I had with clients and personally, like with my kids and with people who I love. And I realized that they were saying things to me, and I was hearing different things than they intended. And I wanted to get to the bottom of that, and the same converse was happening with people who I cared about. And I was like, what is going on here? That I'm saying I want to help you, and they're here, and people are hearing something other than that, and they're saying, Steve, I want to help you, and I'm hearing, why are you arguing? Mm-hmm. So that's how I started this journey, and I appreciate you all being part of it. You go. This is my friend Yuko Ogala. We met at Landmark. Yeah. And what interested you in coming here? Other than the fact that I asked you to come.
Like communicate. How can I communicate with my partner or my friends, people I care?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yai.
Hi, I'm Yae.
And speak to the group, guys.
Right.
Not just Bryn is here to listen. I'm going to have to move it closer so she can hear. But
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So, I always find like even just texting or messaging, like couple days later, I find I misunderstood what he said or what my son said, and communicating like differently or understanding differently or what my feelings are interfering with when I'm hearing things. So I wanted to become more better listener and communicating better in overall is my something that I'm interested in.
Cool. Ksenia.
Hi, yes, my name is Ksenia. I found out about this event from Yae, and I thought it sounded like a really good idea because it's already been iterated. I'll personally feel like communication is the source of a lot of problems with anyone, whether it's in your personal life or professional life. And I like to learn how to be a better communicator to solve any issues.
Yeah. Saint.
Good afternoon, guys. Name's Saint. I'm here to become a better open communicator and a listener.
Odin.
I'm Odin, and I recently started a job in a dental office where I'm having to interact with patients under duress and financial and medical reasons. So, I've already been doing it for a couple of weeks, and there are a lot of challenges in terms of not only doing my job, but kind of doing it in a way where they can get the information that they need from me in a comfortable sort of fashion. And build a rapport, that's pretty deep automatically and just naturally, which is difficult.
Yeah. We now have a similar job.
Yeah.
Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevin, and I work from home for the last 5 years, and I sort of am isolated from people because I deal with them through So I think I need to improve my communication skills when I'm actually around people. And also like you, how we interpret someone saying this to us that they're trying to help us, and we take it in a negative context and then we give it back that way.
Yeah.
So I think active listening and really paying attention to what people are saying and then kind of responding in turn. So that's one of the main reasons.
Cool. Awesome. Tell me your name again.
Matt.
Matt. Okay. Thank you.
My partner found out about this last week after we had kind of a big fight that was centered around communications difficulties. And it's kind of been a thing that we've been working on for a long time in our relationship. We're finding that. So building up communication skills and getting on an even playing field so that we know how to better work with each other.
Cool. Go ahead and have you.
Hi, I'm Dina. I'm here because I just want to be a better communicator and be more open and listen better with the people in my life that I care about.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Esther. I'm here because I found out about it through Dina and because of the massive fight that I had with my partner that made me see that when I try to communicate, I let my emotions kind of get the best of me, and I shut down. So I wanted to be able to understand that better so that I can be a better active listener, and that way I can respond appropriately.
Cool. So Bryn, should we talk a little bit about polyvagal theory and the mind and the body, top down, bottom up, or should we have them do?
Hey, you're driving the bus. Yeah.
What's that?
I said you're driving the bus.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So let's introduce the theory and talk and start to touch on some of the things that people are experiencing in their communications with others.
Sure.
In the process of introducing that meditation, that exercise rather. Okay, so we're going to do an exercise where we're going to practice two methods of breathing, one of which is going to trigger our sympathetic type, parasympathetic, mixed fight, flight, freeze. I think I'm getting too technical already. So one pattern of breathing is going to trigger a little bit more defensiveness, a little bit more fear-based, and the other pattern of breathing is going to calm that down and help us switch back into what we think of as safe mode or social ready or listening ready. And we're going to just notice, working in pairs, what we perceive from the other person. And the reason I'm telling you about this exercise is because it uses polyvagal theory as its basis. And receiving what we hear from someone else, hearing our own thoughts and conveying those thoughts openly in a way that's safe and vulnerable and building trust with the other person are explained very clearly and very simply through polyvagal theory. So you may or may not have heard of the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve is this big nerve that runs from your brain stem, and it has two branches, and the branch that we're interested in goes through the front of the body, the anterior part of the body, and it innervates all of our organs which have an unconscious function. So that means heart rate, breathing. It innervates the tone or the contraction or relaxation of the abdominal wall of the stomach itself, the intestines. It also has effects on perspiration. Vagus nerve also will cause our hearing to change and our vision to change a little bit. So polyvagal theory explains a very thorough and a very deep, almost body-wide effect of what we feel and what we perceive on what happens in our body, right? So if you perceive a threat, whether it's someone saying, I'm not sure I want to work with you on this contract, I need to think about it, or like a electric bike coming at you at 25 miles an hour, what happens is you automatically, without having any choice in the matter, your breathing starts to become a little more rapid, you start to sweat a little bit more, your heart rate goes up, and you start to feel, whether you know it or not, there's something unsafe here for me. and I need to take care of myself in a way that probably is not going to help you get the contract or might not help you get out of the intersection as quickly as you need to, right? Freeze. So most of these things we don't have any control over. The messages go from your brain. You perceive the threat, you perceive the intention of the other person, and the messages go in through your nervous system and they go down into your body. Your heart rate increases, your stomach contracts, maybe you feel like you have upset stomach, or you have the jitters or shaking in your chest, something of that nature. You start to get what we commonly call anxious or fearful. And we don't have any choice. We can't control our heart rate. We can't control our sweating. We can't control cramping in the stomach, right? But the one thing that we can control out of all those reactions that are unconscious is breathing. And it so happens that breathing moves the body. It moves the abdomen. It moves the chest. It can move the upper traps, the shoulders. And we can manipulate that response through the breath. So if you're listening to someone, if you're having a difficult conversation with someone, and you start to feel triggered or afraid or maybe judged or just uncomfortable, like, wow, this is, even if it's just as mild as, this is really uncomfortable, and can we, maybe we could talk about this later, some of the common responses of feeling uncomfortable or anxious talking to people. One thing that you can do that's extremely useful that I want you to take with you today is making the exhale longer than the inhale. And that sends a message to a soft belly, a relaxed anterior front body, and a long exhale sends a message to our brain through the vagus nerve that we're actually safe. So you may think, even though the contract might be in jeopardy, or even though someone's account may be messed up, or you might be having a triggering conversation with your partner, you may think cognitively and feel in your body really, really uncomfortable. You may feel like, oh, I'm about to lose this contract, or in my case, lose the argument. But you can send the message from your physical body back up into your nervous system that in fact you are safe. And that's a really, really great way to flip the switch on our nervous system so we can actually start receiving what we hear, so we can start calming ourselves down and being ready to interact with people in a way that's really powerful. And it doesn't just work with receiving what someone has to say so that we don't feel defensive, or so that we're more receptive to what they have to tell us. Feeling safe also allows us to put ourselves out there and interact with the person in a way that can be much more genuine and authentic, and shows vulnerability to the person, so it will help you to build trust. It will help you get that person on your side really quickly. Like if you're pitching an idea, or if you have to have an uncomfortable conversation with an artist or someone you represent, and that person is defensive or threatened by it, then if you can approach from a place where you feel genuinely invested in the interests of everyone, that actually will come across much more easily. If you can exhale longer and do the breathing really settled, and they will pick up on the fact, like, without you having to do anything, because it shows in your facial expression and in your body expression, they'll pick up on the fact and start to perceive that you're actually in it with them, and you're being vulnerable and being authentic. So breathing is a really powerful tool. The first step, of course, is realizing that you feel that way. But I think is that probably an adequate explanation of polyvagal?
Yeah, I guess I just maybe want to add, so kind of noticing or learning that we're either in like the threat defensive part of our nervous system, or we're in the social engagement, which is also like our health, growth, and connection part of our nervous system. So as soon as we get triggered, that something feels like even a small danger, as Steve was talking about, then we go into this kind of threat response system, and that's going to change just the way that we look. Our face may have more flat affect, less kind of aliveness in the eyes, the tone of voice may be more monotone, and somebody can just pick that up, like unconsciously can feel that we don't feel like a really safe person to share with, to be honest with. And also when you're in that state, your middle ear muscles shift So where you're looking to pick up sounds of predators, like low frequency sounds, and you actually can lose the ability to hear the human voice. So just kind of letting that sink in, that when we're in that state of threat or defense, which can be subtle, we literally stop being able to hear. We're just start kind of looking for cues of danger. And we're also sending those messages out. So then if someone will pick up on our cue, they feel more threat, and it kind of is this cycle that goes from there. And that's, you know, we see that happen all the time as couples and, you know, things on the street or in work situations, how quickly some little thing can then spiral into these defensive actions. And so we literally have to kind of learn to notice the cues of where am I at in my nervous system, and how do I help shift, support myself, and or in partnerships, sometimes it's co-regulating. How do I help support my partner to come back into a safe state? How do I notice where I'm at and help myself come back into that state so my ears can open up to actually hear them, so I can give cues in my face of openness, receptivity, safety. And as we have those cues together, we both are more able to face a problem creatively as almost play versus threat. That's what I would add before the exercise, maybe.
Those are some great points. That's sometimes called neural Wi-Fi. People start to both feel threatened. They have the flat affect. They're feeling defensive. Their voice is monotone, and they start interacting that way and playing off of each other. Even if no one steps up to say, "I feel really uncomfortable right now," still you can see it in the face. It takes something like 3 or 4 seconds or longer when you say something. When someone says something to you, it takes 3 or 4 seconds or longer for you to understand the intention, like the emotions behind what the person is saying. But it takes hundredths of a second for your brain to understand someone's facial expression or someone's body language. So it's it's impossible to hide what we're feeling, and it makes it impossible to really feel safe and to feel comfortable when you're partnered in a conversation with someone who clearly is feeling unsafe in some way. And that's really all it is. Like, it's not, I know that we perceive, oh, this person's trying to get over on me or dominate this thing or win. But in fact, everyone is just afraid of losing or afraid of some kind of loss. So we all have the same problem. Okay, so is there anything else you'd like to add?
Or just, picking up on that just, I think a big part of this too is seeing that this is really physiological. And so kind of taking the blame and the shame out of it around ourselves, like, why do I do this? Or why does my partner do this? And seeing that our systems really are just responding as adaptively as they can to what they feel like is a threat. So out of survival. So in every moment, our nervous system is just trying to do the best it can to help us survive. And so having kind of compassion for those natural tendencies, but also starting to notice when it's not in service of connection and supporting ourselves and each other to maybe shift, but without the judgment that just causes more drama and pain. Easier said than done, but.
Yeah, because it takes practice. Easier said than done, right? But that is an excellent point, is that we do tend to get so caught up in judgment, blame, and shame, either of ourselves or the people who we're working with, right? When we get in this cycle, when we start to perceive threat or fear, or we start to feel uncomfortable, or we neurocept those things, oftentimes we start to point the finger either at ourselves or at the other person, right? And those of you who were here last week will remember one of the 4 horsemen of the discussion apocalypse is judgment, right? When people feel judged, it just instantly shuts down. Like, nothing is stronger than the accusation of blame or judgment in a conversation. It just will completely force the other person to shut down until that's owned and rectified. Okay, so I think what we should do today.
Well, can I just say one more thing on that? Just riffing, but just like now my brain totally went blank. But thinking of it more like just a system malfunction. So if we're not taking it personally versus like, why aren't you listening to me? You know, if the computer is not taking in what I'm typing, I don't take it personally. I just say, oh, something's off with the program and I need to like restart it or something. So similarly with us as humans, instead of why aren't you listening to me or why can't I get what they're saying, just, oh, my system is not feeling kind of safe and supported. What do I need to do to shift that? So if we take it less personally and just see it as a system piece, where's my system at? How do I shift my system? How do I help shift their system? I think that can really save a lot of time.
Yeah, maybe we should add a third experiential piece. Maybe we should do like a 10-minute meditation later on recognizing those feelings and being compassionate towards ourselves.
That could help. Yeah. Okay. So let's go into the exercise, I guess, before, because since we keep yapping.
We're full of good ideas. But do you guys see how those reactions, both in the brain and in the body, can derail your conversations with people, your communication with others? Yeah. Okay.
See, I have a question about like when the communication starts electronically. You know, when you get an email or a text, and you kind of interpret the way it's being sent in your mind, and then you kind of meet together, and then there's an argument. So how does that kind of work?
Well,
because then you're now you're going to see that person, and you're already ready. What did they say? Or I interpreted it a different way, and then the communication
through email or text, through the written word, not with someone in front of you.
You read it the wrong way, or you're typing quick, and they put all the nice words in front and the back, so they took it the right way.
I think if you practice, for me, I get a lot of emails which are tend to be a little bit more toward the triggering side for me, because it's people asking me to explain and prove and justify, right? Because acupuncture is this kind of thing where you have to like explain and qualify it sometimes, or I feel that way. So I think maybe a good starting place would be for you to notice what it is that you're feeling when you get the message. If you feel like you have to, like me, explain yourself or qualify what it is that you're doing, to notice that, and then the message aside, come back to it later with a different feeling, with a different perspective, right? Recognize it and let it pass, and then come back to it a little bit later before responding.
Well, I guess that brings up my thought. There's something I say when I work with couples, like, don't fight when you're mad. Easier said than done also, but don't. So if we're looking at the nervous system, one way we can look at it is like the green zone, the red zone. There's different ways to do it. The green, yellow, red, where green is when you are feeling, enough relaxation, okayness, safety to be in a communicative, open state. Red is when you're starting to be kind of amped up and agitated, or feeling like I have to do something. And that's yellow. Sorry, I'm messing that up. And red is when you feel like shut down and have like, forget it, this is hopeless. So noticing to try to not act from the yellow or the red when you're in that, I have to do something, or there's no point in doing anything, but try to take care of yourself and do some practices, which we'll give a few examples of, to be in that more open state before communicating. And electronically, like, we are in this new realm of communicating where we're losing all of these neuroceptive cues. It's really making communication a lot more difficult. I don't know how many people I work with, they're having so many dating issues because they're texting, and there's so many miscommunications around that. I think, or I say like adding things like emojis and things that give an emotional tone, which may not be appropriate in business ones as much as dating text, but finding ways to try to communicate warmth and openness and collaboration within emails, even if it is a challenging email, trying to, if you're in a safe enough state, kind of having that sense of a bridge building email where you may be acknowledging the concern, but trying to, use language of being constructive to work out the issue. And I think, as Steve is saying too, just that kind of like timeout, not reacting, but doing some self-care, getting in that green state, and then responding more consciously. Not that it's going to be perfect, but you're more likely to get a good flow of communication if you wait and take care of yourself first.
Great, thank you. Esther, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was writing it down.
Okay.
I didn't want to forget. Do you find that, I was going to ask, do you find that some people are more likely to just go, like, to skip the yellow and just go straight to the red?
Yes.
Some people they go to the yellow and they stay at the yellow, and that creates like a sense of urgency. It's like, I need to talk about this now. Like, I can't deal with this.
Right. So definitely we have kind of our patterns, and also depending on like our early, relational template from childhood and experiences we've had. And if there's been relational problems or attachment trauma or traumas, we may have kind of a quick route to one state or the other. And the way to work with that, and maybe getting some skilled support in this if it's hard to kind of do it on your own, but in bringing in, mindful awareness about it, starting to know and track your pattern. And if you can keep that kind of mindful awareness online, that you may start to notice, okay, I'm going into that state. This is my pattern, and kind of learn some of the things that help you get through that and not get stuck there. You might also ask your partner to help support you in that. And through kind of experiments, like knowing this is likely what's going to happen when we're not in a fight, can we kind of troubleshoot and talk about some things that we might be able to do to help me come down from that state, so then we can kind of talk about it. And part of just knowing that it's not really going to be helpful, kind of having that just drop in as a truth, even though it feels so urgent in the moment, you kind of get, if I act from that place, I'm not really going to be able to communicate as effectively as I want to. And if we kind of let that sink in and can stay mindful, can feel that urge, but have wisdom kind of say, I know this is not ultimately going to help me. Partner, can you also help me shift out of this? It's a practice, and something you might try on your own, and or get a little support if that's not happening easily.
Yeah, okay, so again, there are those words: mindfulness, awareness, dropping in, right? Being aware of the process when it's starting, and then being able to have the tools to make the shift. So we're going to work on that first aspect of awareness and mindfulness. We're going to now practice trying to perceive something on the face of the other person. You guys came in groups. You guys came in like crews. So I'm going to split you up so you're working with people who don't know, and I'm just going to do it like completely. Would you mind trading seats with Gina? And would you mind trading seats with Kevin? 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I'm gonna have to participate. Is it okay if I work with you? Okay, cool. So there are just two parts. There's breathing, and then there's perceiving, like looking at the other person's face and just looking. And we're just gonna do 6 breaths. So first, let's practice the breath. So the first pattern we're gonna use is a longer inhale and a shorter exhale. So I'd like you to breathe, just for the sake of the exercise, breathe with me 6 times. And I'm gonna count the inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then exhale 1, 2, 3. And it's gonna feel a little bit uncomfortable, but that's okay, right? So breathe out and get ready to breathe in. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 1, 2, 3. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 1, 2, 3. In, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 1, 2, 3. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 1, 2, 3. Okay, you guys look like that's really labored for some of you, not all of you. Does anybody feel like really uncomfortable breathing, lightheaded? Should we make the inhale a little bit shorter? Or is everyone good with it the way that it is? Getting a little lightheaded? Okay, so now we're going to split up into teams, so you make it just a little shorter for yourself. Okay? So you're going to turn to the person next to you. And what we're going to do is, all right, you guys don't have to rearrange the chair. Just turn your head. So here's what you're going to do. Raise your hand. You're person A, person A, person A, person A, and person A. So person A, you're going to do the breathing. Person B, your job is to just have a neutral expression on your face. Okay? So you're not going to have you have a slight smile, Ksenia. So relax your smile, right? If you can, if you can't, it's okay. Don't worry about it. There's no messing up. But also, you have a little tension in your forehead. So try to relax your forehead and eyebrows, right? So those are two opposite examples: smile, friendly kind of thing, and just mildly tense kind of thing, right? So we're going to cultivate what we think of as a neutral face, neutral affect. Person B, you have a neutral affect. And now person A, I want you to do the counting breath. I want you to do the long inhale, short exhale now. 6 breaths. Ready, go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 1, 2. And stop. Okay, so from person A, one at a time. No, let's see a show of hands. How many people perceived something on their partner's face? Raise your hands if you perceived something. 1, 2, person A. Did you perceive? You didn't perceive anything. Okay. Did you perceive anything on your partner's face? No, that's okay. Did you perceive? This is perfect. It's supposed to be 60-70% of people are supposed to pick up on something, and 30-40% of people won't see anything at all. So it was 1, 2, 3 people perceived something, and one person B perceived something. Okay, so what did you? Let's hear from you now. What did you think? What did you see on your partner's face?
So,
In 2 words.
judgment.
Judgment.
Effort.
Effort. Perfect. Were you judging her or making effort, person B? You were making effort? Made effort, but no judgment. Okay.
Judgment.
Judgment. Okay. Were you judging your partner? Okay, good. What did you see? Calm. There's always one that crashes the experience. All right, great. All right, so now we're gonna reverse the breathing. So let's practice the longer exhale and the shorter inhale. I'm just gonna let you do this one. I'm not gonna count for you. Okay, so for me, I breathe in and I see how long I can inhale, and then I breathe out, making the exhale slower. So for me, it sounds like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that, right? So I'm inhaling to 3, exhaling to 5, or similar, whatever feels right for you. So person A, raise your hands so you know who you are. So you're going to do a shorter inhale and a longer exhale. And again, person B, try to have a neutral effect on your face. Ready? 6 breaths. Okay. So Yuko, did you perceive anything this time? Nothing? It's okay. It's fine.
No.
Oh my god.
She doesn't
She
get
doesn't get sarcasm.
Sarcasm is a trick.
Did you perceive anything, Kevin? Did you think you saw some feeling in your partner's face?
I think she was worried about it. Of course, I can't hang wrong.
And how did that feel to you? Did you feel
I was trying to make sure I was doing 3 up and 6 down. Okay, a little bit more self.
so if you thought she was concerned about you and you were self-conscious about what you were doing, were you aware of any feeling?
Just trying to do it correctly.
Were you worried and afraid that you weren't doing it correctly, or were you concerned and curious about what your partner was feeling?
More curious and concerned.
Great, great, awesome. Anything?
Yeah, I thought after a while, because I was looking for something, I thought, looks like he's wondering, or calmly wondering.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, this is what I'm doing. I just projecting what I'm doing on him.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Matt, did you perceive anything on Senya's face?
On particularly good breaths, it felt like I was noticing her smirk a little bit, and then not like in a bad way, in like a
Yeah.
friendly way. And
Okay.
then I kind of fell from time to time. So.
Okay, friendly. That's a good word. It's a good word. How about you?
Very similar. I felt like she was trying not to laugh.
Yeah.
Not in a mean way,
Yeah.
but in like a lighthearted way. And then I was like, okay, now I'm trying not to laugh.
Yeah. Totally fine to like crack up during stuff like this. And notice the language that we're using. Words like laugh, friendly, not in a bad way, crack up, concern, right? Totally the opposite of judgment, right? So the feeling that you're having is one more of ready to receive and being curious about and concerned and ready to listen.
Oh, the other concern I had was when someone's looking at you so closely, it's concerned whether I look or
Yeah.
or like how can she stand looking at you that?
Just looking at someone and not adding anything additional is really a challenge.
Yeah, right. Bow to all of you. That's brave work right there. Yeah.
So now we're going to switch, and just to see what happens, let's do the longer exhale breathing first. Okay. So person B, raise your hand. So that's Yai and Senya, Saint, Dina, and Pete. And now person A, who you're partnered with, you guys are going to have a negative affect on the face. That means just try to have a relaxed face. Try,
Did you say negative or neutral?
Neutral. I said
Okay.
negative.
You said negative. Yeah.
I was just testing you, Bryn.
I'm listening. Yeah. I'm in the green.
Good work, Bryn. Keep up, good work. All right, so make your exhale longer than your inhale, and we'll do that for 6 breaths. Okay. So let's see a show of hands. People B people. How many people actually perceived something in their partner's face? Okay, so Yai, Saint, and me. Okay, what did you think you saw on your partner's face?
It wasn't negative, but she was seeking something.
Okay. And how did you feel?
Not judged, but kind of scared.
Oh, wow. Not, so not judged, but scared. Okay.
Kind of,
All right. So not quite safe mode. Mr. Singh, what did you perceive on your partner's face? Curiosity. Okay. All right. And did that feel like positive to you or negative or neutral? Okay. All right. Good. All right. And I didn't perceive anything on my partner's face, but I felt like I could see like a lot of her. Like I started to notice like all the colors that she's wearing and colors in her skin, and like I was able to take more stuff in. Okay, so let's try. Now we're going to try the longer inhale and the shorter exhale. Right. So everybody knows who you are. So neutral affect on person A and person B. Beginning of 6 rounds. Okay, and stop. So how many of us perceived something on our partner's face? Yeah, nothing. Send you nothing. Okay. Same.
So I'm started like he was breathing for me. Like he saw me struggling, so I just starting to breathe more often.
Okay. Yeah. And how was there a feeling in you that you noticed during that interaction?
More so cerebral.
Cerebral more than feeling. Okay. All right. Fair enough. So I definitely noticed a big shift. Like I definitely perceived anger, but you probably are not mad yet. So yeah, so that's a real thing. Yes.
Yeah, I would add that I perceived like a lot of the same things that I perceived last time, but I felt more anxious on my part. Like,
Yeah.
Is this like a searching face or is this more of a judging face?
Yeah. Right. Like you can see things that you think are fear, anger, judgment, negative like that. You can see things that may not be any of that, but that also at the time make you feel uncomfortable, right? So
You're always looking out for it, so you kind of feel like it's already there in a way.
maybe you're kind of, you're seeing what you expect to see. Yeah. No experiment is perfect, right? But I think it's very, very telling though, right? I mean, two things, when you enter into an interaction with someone, you are looking for things because the person has a history with you already of, and you have a history with the person, right? So you're right about that. And then the other thing is we have to become aware of what we're feeling and what we think we're seeing, and that those things are not actually real. I love this saying that, things that exist in the mind are not real. Like if you cut open your brain and you look inside, the things that you think you're seeing are not in there. They don't exist.
Can I say a little about that too? So that like Stephen Porges, who created the polyvagal theory, but he talks about like the state that we're in, we'll be in this physiological state and then our mind will try to create a story to locate the threat because we don't like just feeling off and not knowing why. So our brain is kind of trying to track where's the danger so I can fix it. So if my body is just in that anxious state, which is kind of created by the longer inhale, shorter exhale that activates the sympathetic nervous system, then we start tracking for where's the danger, where's the threat. And there's something else I was going to say about that. Oh, I have mommy brain. I'm going to take a breath, get my brain back. Love myself. I totally just forgot what I was going to say. I'll say something also just popped into my head, but another marriage researcher has an unpublished study about where he had couples on treadmills and trying to work out problems, and that they weren't able to get through arguments when they were on the treadmill just because the body is in that state. So now I remember what I was going to say. Right, our brain will try to come up with a story about what's causing the state. And something I've started doing with my partner that's been really effective is like noticing the state and naming it. Like I'm noticing I'm feeling scared, my muscles are tense, and the story I'm telling myself is, you're going to leave me. The story I'm telling myself is, you don't really care about this thing that's important to me. So instead of the normal habit of, this is what's happening, but just because I think it and feel it, I'm acknowledging this is the feeling in my body. And then I'm, labeling it as a story. And then I'm letting him kind of check out. And I'm also a little more vulnerable, which stimulates in him the desire to care for me versus protect himself. So if I'm in defense and I attack him with, you're doing this, you don't care about this, he goes into defense mode too. But if I'm acknowledging I'm scared, my stomach is upset, I'm really telling myself the story that you don't love me, what does he do? Yes. When he's in a good moment, but he might come and actually hug me and say, babe, I love you. Well, I do care about that. So that stimulates his social engagement, his compassion part. So it works better for us.
Should we spend 3 or 4 minutes talking about vulnerability and why, evolutionarily speaking, it's important for us? And
sure, go.
Social creeps.
You wanna start that?
I just made all that up. So the reason vulnerability works to garner trust, you need to leave? Okay. Thank you for coming. So the reason that vulnerability is really important is, Bryn said, if I show that I'm vulnerable, sometimes it will prompt my partner to want to take care of me, right? And the reason that we as humans do that, like automatically without even having to make a choice about it, is because the most important thing to our survival is our clan, our community, right? Being accepted and being loved and being cared for by other people tells us that we are going to be safe, that we're going to survive the winter, the night, the battle, all of it, right? So the more people you have in your clan, the more resources you have, and the longer you're going to survive, and the better off the species will be. So it's wired into us at this unconscious level that connecting with somebody else, like being able to trust someone, is the most important and most powerful thing. So when you show that you're willing to be vulnerable with someone, and that triggers what is it called, like a response?
Tend and befriend, or yeah.
Response, where they want to care for you, then that builds that kind of relationship, which you can just see it on someone's face. You can perceive it on someone's face, on their in their body language, in their tone of voice. Words become unnecessary. Your bond with them is like neurological, unspoken.
Mm-hmm. And I think this might be a side, but also related. So Stephen Porges, again, the person who kind of has studied polyvagal, talks about that we'd be much better off as humans if we spoke to each other the way we speak to our dogs or like to babies. So where we kind of forget about the content, but it's the prosody of the voice kind of lilting and the eyes shining and the upper face moving. So when you have movement in the face, when you have a warmth, when you have this kind of flow of language, that actually signals safety, and that creates this connection and wanting to play, wanting to connect, collaborate. And we kind of know how to do that naturally with a baby or an animal. If you saw a scared animal, you know not to go, why are you being scared? Come out of there. you know, oh, how do I show in my body, in my breath, that I'm safe? And if I can be in that state and hold space, then that animal might come forward and share itself with me. Same with our partner, even our boss. You know, everyone's out there scared, trying to survive, putting on fronts. And if we can be strong enough in ourselves to be taking care of ourselves, holding ourselves in a sense of okayness, and hold space for that other to come forward, then we have a lot more room for this kind of connection. It's hard, it's brave, right? Because we're like, are they gonna, you know, if I'm vulnerable and kind and open, am I gonna be safe? And that's where we have to work on kind of our own practices to feel a sense of internal safety as well.
So how about we give them an experience of practicing, of soothing themselves, of cultivating that internal safety.
Okay. And well, one thing, I don't know what you have planned. You might practice adding in a way to kind of connect to the social engagement system can be like thinking of a person or an animal in your life where you do feel a nice sense of like flow and connection. And when you kind of bring that to mind, just noticing the place you get into in your body, that can help us shift out of defense into that state. So if you want to pepper that in at all.
If we use that at the end, that would be a good way to come back to that state of feeling safe. So do you have a format you want to use for like a meditation?
Not specifically. I mean, I'm not sure, what your goal is.
So my goal is to first bring them into their body using something like breathing, and then use an image that is mildly noxious, like not traumatic, but mildly triggering.
My sense for some reason kind of at this point would be just to work on building the green state versus even going into and then maybe talk about that process after, but just because of time and wanting to also practicing deepening. We have a lot of experience in our triggered states, but maybe just practicing feeling into what it's like to maybe be in the green state and then sharing that experience. So I guess I could guide that as well if you wanted.
If you like.
Or if you feel like you just kind of add that into a regular meditation.
I mean, we could do a 3-part meditation with, dropping into the body and then speaking kind, compassionate words to ourselves, such as, I care about my feelings. We could have them do some soothing touch to propagate that in the body. That's like very polyvagal-ish. And then we could have them visualize someone who is a friend, who is a source of security. Does that sound like a good format?
Sure. And I always say someone or something, because for some people that's an animal or nature or spiritual connection or a human in your life. But
do you want to guide this one? Do you want? How do you feel about that?
No, I think you go ahead. You go ahead. Yeah.
Let me just turn off the AC.
Okay. And speaking of the AC, that's another thing that Stephen Porges talks about is just if we have these kind of like rumbling noises can also just put us into a state of lack of safety. So some of these just environmental things can trigger that feeling of things are not okay. So turning that off during a meditation is a wise polyvagal act.
Okay, so I'm going to try to keep this to 10 minutes. It should be plenty of time. You just heard us discuss the format, but I'll walk you through it. And these are all tools that Lynn and I both use, so we know them to be effective for ourselves and for our clients. So sit in a way, again, that's comfortable. You can be at the back of your chair, you can be on the front of your chair. You should be upright and just simply good enough. Your eyes closed. If you don't want to close your eyes, you can look down at the floor. start becoming aware of your breath. So breathe in and say inhale. And say exhale as you breathe out. Let's do that 3 times. Not trying to lengthen the exhale yet, just becoming aware of your breath, seeing what that feels like. Now lengthen the exhale. Breathing into a relaxed, soft belly. Exhaling long. Hearing the sounds outside, the voices, sounds in the room, becoming aware of the feelings in your own body. Maybe you feel warmth, maybe you feel pain or tension. Noticing those things without story, without judgment. Continuing to inhale into the soft belly, and exhale long. Relaxed belly tells our brain that we are safe. Relaxed shoulders tell our brain that we are safe. Let's have ever so gentle a smile on the lips and the eyes. And see if you can feel now a sense of caring for yourself. You can say the words silently to yourself. I care about myself. I care about how I feel. Say to yourself, I'm here. I'm here with you. See how that feels when you speak to yourself those words. I care about you. I'm here with you. Notice what happens to your breathing. Notice what happens to your belly, shoulders, your face. When you say those words. I'm right here with you. And if you want, if you like, you can add now physical part, soothing. You can rub your arms, brush your hands against your shoulders, lightly giving yourself a hug, making any movements that you feel are soothing. It can be your hands against your palms. You can be rubbing your arms and shoulders. You can be brushing your hands and palms across your chest. Feeling the rib cage. Long, gentle, warm, light strokes. Feeling your belly. You can brush gently your face. And run your hands over or through your hair. Sides of the neck. Any place is fair game. Any place that feels soothing to you. If you were soothing a friend or a loved one, how would you touch that person or that being? Work with your feelings and your awareness of the noise outside, being accepting of everything just the way that it is, choosing to be with everything just the way it is. Bringing your attention back to the breath. And what I'm finding useful that I suggest, letting your arms rest so you're moving a little bit less, so you're a little more calm, and just moving from the wrist or moving from the fingers. And you can say to yourself, I'm taking care of myself right now. This is self-care, taking care of myself. I'm here. And now call to mind the image that brings up feelings of compassion, or acceptance, or safety, or love, comfort. You can let your hands move to wherever it feels right. As you start to bring up this image, it can be a day, or a person, or an object, or a place, or a pet. It can be a friend, family. It can be yourself. Continuing to exhale longer than the inhale. Keeping your belly soft. Feeling the comfort in your own touch, from your being here for yourself. feeling the comfort from the image that you're holding. Experiencing what that's like to feel safe. Tell yourself that it's okay. When you're ready, you can release your hands, place them on your thighs or your lap. And gently wiggle fingers and toes. Very gently scrunch the eye, relax the eyelids. Feeling the ground under your feet, being aware of the sound in the room. And gently open your eyes. Feel free to keep that feeling of peace and comfort with you as you come back. Carry that with you. So, quite a different experience, the feeling that you cultivate by soothing yourself, quite a different experience than the one that you came in here with an hour and a half ago, right? Yeah. So just imagine, picture in your mind, just getting ready to talk to someone, how you feel now with this mindset, right? which took like 15 minutes, 10 minutes, versus the mindset that you brought in. Yeah, nervous system is powerful. Bryn, do you have anything to say or anything to add in the last few minutes?
Let's see. I guess just kind of maybe takeaways that that we are just physiological beings, and so just kind of getting that, accepting that we're mammals, we're organisms, we're going to get shaken up in this crazy stressful world, or we're going to shut down, and just how to bring a compassionate, mindful awareness to notice what state am I in, and how do I take care of myself to maybe shift into a more open, receptive, green state. And this idea, we're never going to be 100% safe, but this kind of relative safety that often we find in some sense of connection. So when we are feeling unsafe, just thinking back to, again, animals or babies, how would you can't tell an animal or baby that the whole world is completely safe, but you bring a relational safety to them, where you say, I'm here with you, you use touch, you use body language, you use, kind words and vocalizations to help them feel relative safety, how to bring that to ourselves, ideally to our partners and family members, and then maybe holding that place in ourselves even as we deal with stressful people out in the world we may not be as intimate with. Where am I at? How can I support myself to shift? And I think that's all. Is that all I want to say? Yeah, just trying to notice that without judgment, with compassion, and calling ourselves out for kind of the cognitive stories that we make up, and noticing if we shift state, if the thoughts might change as well. That's all.
Does everybody feel okay? Does anything feel unresolved that we need to discuss before we close today? No? Okay, then thank you all for being here. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. Thanks for exploring. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.